Happy Monday, everybody. What a beautiful day it was in New York City tonight. MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, the center of all the action for an AFC East rivalry with some interesting new twists. Patriots and Jets each trying to get back on track. The first time since 2008, the New York Jets are facing a New England Patriots team without Tom Brady. Hi, everybody. I'm Dianna Russini. I got my friends Yates, Jason Fitz with me tonight. We are going to be with you here for the next half hour to talk about all the trending topics on Twitter, all the highlights, all the chatter today, and all the NFL big storylines. Guys, what's going on today?
Just living that dream, Diana, and you're right, absolutely. If you're watching this in the app, fun fact, you could just authenticate, stay right here, watch all the way into Monday Night Football. You're right, also, it was a beautiful day in New England. Like, I almost forget for a minute that winter is coming, but field at this point, we're getting a matchup between the Jets and the Patriots that is going to answer some questions about where the Patriots are and where the rest of their season is heading.
You know, Fitz, I hear some people these days that are complaining about this game between the Jets and the Patriots. Oh, the Jets are 0-8. They're down to their backup quarterback. You stop it. You lock it up. You do not complain. Because there was a time not that long ago where I sat in my house for about 90 straight days and I watched zero football. I watched the Little Giants 8 times in 1 week just to get a little taste of football. So, yeah, I'm fired up for this game tonight. Don't try to persuade me otherwise.
The world's quickest story. When I was a little kid, Diana, Monday Night Football was everything for me. So I was in elementary school. My mom would get me ice cream, and I could sit and watch a Monday Night Football game. And for years, she was convinced that I liked my ice cream melted because I would wait so long to finish my ice cream so I could watch as much game as possible. Tonight, no melt Monday. I would just chug it in and go. We'll see, though. We'll see. Diana, as always, let's get you want to get us started on some of the big trending stories from yesterday?
Yeah, I think today's one of those days where everyone's so busy with work, but, we all have our eyes on Twitter on all the big storylines coming out of the weekend's games. But probably the biggest storyline that everyone was talking about was actually New England's former quarterback, that being Tom Brady, now with the Bucs. Last night going up against the New Orleans Saints, and it was embarrassing at times. Looking up at the score 1 minute, it seemed like it was a competition. The next, before you knew it, the New Orleans Saints ran away with it. So today, a couple trending topics included in that game. Jameis Winston, of course, though, being sort of the star of this, knowing that this was a bit of a revenge game. Were you guys able to see some of the memes that existed from that game?
Oh, yeah. It's hysterical stuff, by the way. They've got it up here. Jameis ate a W after the Saints beat the Bucs 38-3. Field, I'm here for all of this sort of trash talking.
I am so here for it, Fitz. And so I mentioned this earlier today on the Fantasy Focus Football Podcast, which you can, of course, check out Monday through Friday. Saints Twitter is top 2 in the NFL, and it ain't 2, everybody. The Saints were wilding out last night after that game, between Jameis going crazy on the field, eating the W, all the dancing in the locker room afterwards. And I get it. The Saints dance after a lot of wins, maybe even every win. But last night, had a little extra flair to it, because here's what happened. And I know Diana can confirm this, because Diana has spent many a Sunday reporting on the New Orleans Saints. As the Bucs were kind of feeling themselves a little bit. Everybody's talking about the Bucs being the best, most complete team in football. No one said a thing about the Saints other than their quarterback kind of doesn't. I'm not sure he's got the arm anymore to make the throws down the field. They were a sleeping giant there for a minute, and last night they proved the NFC South still runs through the Saints, because they're now up by 1 game in the standings, but they're effectively up by 2 games as they swept the season series in Tampa.
Yeah, Field, a lot of people don't know this, but the New Orleans Saints have their own team DJ. So when we see these clips of them dancing, it's not like Alvin Kamara just has his phone out connected to like a Bose speaker. Bose, feel free to come sponsor our Monday Tailgate show here. They have their own team DJ who travels with them to these games to make sure that the scene that we see on Instagram is exactly, it's at least consistently happening after every win. The question is, what happens when they lose, right? Well, the DJ just doesn't work when they lose. I have some friends in the league that were covering the press conference yesterday during the Zoom calls with Sean Payton after the game, and they were telling me that the music was so loud from the locker room, they barely could hear Coach talking to the media just through Zoom because they were set up so close. So obviously these guys know how to party, and I think you make a really good point. For whatever reason, and maybe it's just because we've gotten really comfortable and used to the New Orleans Saints winning, we became a little obsessed with the Bucs. We know that Antonio Brown became just really one of the biggest stories headed into the week. And the fact that we were going to see him back with Tom Brady, we all know the backstory and their relationship and them living together and how Tom Brady basically did everything he possibly could to make sure that the Bucs all were on the same page and getting him signed at Tampa Bay. And he kind of was an afterthought, Fitz. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I thought that was hugely significant. Obviously, we expected something. And Dianna, you talk about what we're obsessed about. Not only are we obsessed on that side of it, but frankly, I think we're over-obsessed with the quarterback position as a country in general. Like, you think about what Field was talking about. We're only talking about the noodle arm, right, for Drew Brees. But realistically, last night was a reminder that these teams are not necessarily just defined by that. I mean, Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas have as much, if not more, to do with the Saints' success. And Antonio Brown wasn't able to come in and really make much impact. I'm not sure why we thought he would, though, Field.
I tell you what, so I think I give him a pass in terms of the production. 3 catches, 31 yards on 39 snaps for Antonio Brown. They'll have better days. But last night was I thought, a not too subtle reminder. The NFL season is so long. And this is what we do. This is our job. We literally have 6 days a week to fill the content reacting to the previous Sunday and looking forward to the next Sunday. But what we do is we hand out arbitrary awards and we crown teams and we proclaim them to be this or that. And for 2 weeks, when the Bucs looked really good and they beat, obviously the Packers very squarely and then handled business against the Giants, as we said to ourselves, we turned this into Tom Brady still got it, and Tom Brady, he was the real key to the Patriots' success, and Bill Belichick is irrelevant. Rather than being like, hey, you know what? Believe it or not, Tom Brady does still have it. He's very good, and also the Patriots were very good because Bill Belichick's the greatest to ever do it. No, we don't deal in sort of calm, reasoned logic. Instead, we have to go to the extremes. I think that's what happened with us in the Bucs. And, oh, by the way, we still have 2 teams in the AFC that I think are head and shoulders better than the rest of the entire NFC. So I think we got a lot of long season ahead of us, but we need to maybe stop proclaiming things by week 9 of the NFL season.
We do. What are you talking about? We do it in August. we crown teams, right? It just doesn't matter. It keeps it exciting, but I think that's why last night was so dramatic, because everyone was picking the Bucs, and my biggest takeaway is the Bucs have not been able to figure out Sean Payton and Drew Brees' offense. That is for sure. As great as Todd Bowles is, and he's done a really good job, they have been swept now. That being said, so guys, we know we think Cowboys and we think that's America's team. Well, according to Ben Roethlisberger, the Cowboys may be America's team, but the Steelers are the world's team. Some strong words as this team continues to be the only undefeated team left in the league. We saw them have a little bit of a struggle there against Dallas of all teams, but once again, the Steelers, it's ugly at times, but they figure out a way to win. It is difficult to bring down Big Ben. It is difficult to rattle them, even though we know he was dealing with some injury there. Guys, were you surprised, Jay, that the Cowboys even challenged the Steelers?
Yeah, I was. And look, Ben can talk all the smack he wants. When you're undefeated, you get to do that. You can be the world's team when you're 8-0. But yeah, to that end, I think the offense of the Cowboys and where they came out of nowhere for me was the big part. Like, we finally saw the wide receivers playing the way we expect the wide receivers to play, and they were bailing out their quarterback with some great catches. And so I thought it was really a dynamic effort from the Cowboys. And as much as I've been harsh on the coaching staff, it's only fair to say when you can motivate guys field and get that level of effort, it speaks to something happened better this week, at least in getting guys to play like they care through the process of the game.
Mike Tomlin, the man is just terrific. Love Mike Tomlin. 14 straight seasons to begin his head coaching career with a non-losing season. And I am no Doug Kazarian, but I offer this thought. The Steelers are 8-0, and I just talked about how we do these things where we proclaim things too much. The Steelers might be favored in every game they have the rest of the way. I do not believe the Steelers are an historically great team, but I also would not be surprised if the Steelers finished 14-2, 15-1. I don't think 16-0, but the Steelers are in shape to be very well positioned come January.
Oh, for sure. There's going to be some team is going to catch them, right? Because we give them the credit that they find those ways to win, but we always know that at some point that magic wears off, and maybe they'll get caught in a trap game, because their schedule is actually not that tough. They got the Bengals coming up this week, in which division game there. That could be an interesting one. All right, but Jay, we always talk about the early game images, the players arriving, the players going through warm-up. There's always those memorable moments. Take us through things that really stood out to you.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the best moments from Twitter and all over social media with Picture This as we get you some of the best. Starts with Julio Jones. Field, you got any necklaces like that? Yeah, I said necklaces.
I have a question. Do you think that necklace alone is worth more than my entire net worth?
And no, there's no doubt. I mean, there's no doubt.
And not that that's saying much, but I'm just saying that is a massive, massive necklace.
I mean, you could, that
It's
thing.
probably worth the price of a jet.
Yeah.
Very
well,
true.
Certainly, if I could ride that to work every day, it would be an upgrade from the value of my car. But Julio Jones paid it off. I mean, when you play that well, you can look that good. All right, let's take a look from the neck all the way to the feet. Stephon Diggs with, we've got Des Bryant coming here with a little bit of Kobe Bryant love as he's wearing the Kobe jersey for his debut with the Ravens. Remember, he was on the practice squad, but then got brought onto the roster. Dianna, you like the Kobe threads coming out?
Yeah, I mean, I was so almost distracted by the idea that Des Bryant is just back playing. I thought we were done. I thought he was done. I thought everyone sort of has moved on. So I think it was commendable for him getting in shape and getting ready to get back into the league here and obviously being good enough to be active, but also obviously taking a moment there to represent probably one of the biggest losses we've had this year.
All right, so next up, the Chargers unis have been a debate for Field and I. Field, they went with the navy blue ones. Also should be noted, the Raiders went with an all too with the silver numbers, but that's fine. What do you think?
Solid, really solid. And I have to grade on a curve. And I know many believe this is one of the better combos in the NFL. To me, I look at them and I think to myself, not even the best uniform offering that team has. So I like them a lot. They're a B+ for me, B+.
Anything other than the powder blues is an abomination for that Chargers team. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's take a look here. Jake Luton came off the bench, really, for the Jags this season. He is now in for Gardner Minshew. But it looks like they had some issues with his nameplate back there. Dianna, I mean, somebody should be taking care of that for the starting quarterback, right?
You got to do a better job of that. I mean, I think that sort of symbolizes the Jags season. It's just sort of patched together as they're trying to figure it out. They're not really contenders. They're not even competitive at this point. I look at it this way. Just rip the Band-Aid when it comes to the coaching staff at that point, or in this case, rip the name off the back, right? Let's just pull it, get it over with.
All right, and lastly, Field, I got to get your thoughts on that. It's just Phillip Rivers hanging out on the field after he was hurdled on the way to a scoop and score touchdown by Chuck Clark. Thoughts?
The internet was made for moments like this. Phillip Rivers' attempt to tackle Chuck Clark was made for the internet. It was brilliant, and by brilliant, I mean it was an abject failure and a disaster. I am grateful for Phillip Rivers' sake that he can throw a football and do so artfully and beautifully and good enough to eventually become an NFL Hall of Famer.
I'm just jealous of his bendy hamstrings, more flexible than I am. All right, Dianna, what you got?
Well, unfortunately, the days of Phillip Rivers being one of the major stars in the league, it's starting to fade away, guys, right? So we're seeing every week this season the young guys, those drafted in the first, second rounds over the last 2-3 seasons, even last season out of the draft, they are becoming the new faces of the NFL, and they have every right to. So, Field, take us through our favorite game and our favorite segment that we do every week, our top 5 list.
Touchscreen time, and as we do every week, we're going to count down 5 players with a little twist this week. The topic is, if you were to build a franchise from scratch today, who would you build it around? But normally we go 5-1, build some suspense, because oftentimes there is not consensus for the first overall pick. We're going to flip the scripts here today, Fitz and Dianna, because if you're not taking Patrick Mahomes, number 1, you don't watch football. He's got 25 touchdowns and 1 interception through 9 games this year. To me, now the favorite to be the NFL MVP. It will be the second time in 3 years he has won that individual award. Let's get Patrick Mahomes out of the way and get to the more interesting part. Fitz, who you got at number 2?
And everybody knows, lifelong Raiders fan, I'd still take Mahomes number 1. If somebody else could take him out of the division, I'd be happy. All right, so I am a massive, not a small, I am a massive believer in Deshaun Watson. He's going to be number 2 on this list.
Okay.
I believe believe that if Deshaun Watson was put with better coaching in a better situation, he would be Mahomesian. He can be Mahomesian. What we've seen from Deshaun Watson, his ability to be what the new generation of quarterbacks is. Mobile plus, guys, I like proof of concept. I like somebody that I know. I've got enough body of work that I can say I know who this guy is. Deshaun Watson, number 2. Dianna, who you got at number 3?
You guys are so offensive heavy.
No.
And I'm going to add to that. Because, no, here's the thing. I initially was like, all right, these two sound crazy here with these choices. Actually, you sound dead on. I agree with you completely. If I was doing this list just myself, I would start with those two as well. I want to go Myles Garrett here, but I have fallen in love with DK Metcalf this season, and we've seen what the production's been on the field and how he's really built this chemistry with Russell Wilson, and he's really shown so many people, so many GMs and head coaches around the league who said that he was all muscle, right? All body, no skill. He didn't have good football instincts, and he is proving them every single week how wrong they were. I remember going on NFL Live after making a few phone calls, talking to a couple GMs right before that draft, and they were all saying something very similar to what we've heard, which is stay far away from him. He's not that good. So I'm all part of this sort of revenge tour that I know for a fact he's aware of as well. So he's definitely a kind of player that I'd build around. And also, he's really fun, and he makes the game so much fun.
Yeah, he is fun. And by the way, early in my career, people said Fields all body and biceps himself. Things have changed. I'm a little doughier now as I hit my early 30s. Number 4, by the way, Dianna, love the curveball. That's why we love having you on the show every week. I'm going to be so right down the middle of the plate. I'm going to go with Kyler Murray here at number 4. He had a career-high rushing yards in Week 9, over 100 for the first time in his career. Such a gifted thrower as well. He has brought that franchise back to relevance. Remember, this team used a 10th overall pick on a quarterback 2 years ago, and then decided, you know something, Fitz, we're good. We're going to trade away Josh Rosen, collected about 50 cents on the dollar. It's all good, though, because we have Kyler Murray, who has been so fun to watch, and you talk about trajectory. The guy is still so young and getting better seemingly by the week. Kyler Murray, good luck trying to defend him. Fitz, number 5 is up to you. And this is where things maybe get a little bit spicier.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm building a franchise from scratch. Well, you can have a dynamic, incredible pass rusher and not win any games.
Okay.
I mean, we've seen that with Khalil Mack, for example. You can, and Myles Garrett. I mean, what if the Browns won because of Myles Garrett? You can have a great running back, Christian McCaffrey, and not win games. I'm trying to win games, and that's why I'm positionally going to stick with the quarterback. But now I get tested here on my own proof of concept, right? Because I believe that Joe Burrow is going to show us over the next several years that he is. Nope, we're not putting Joe there. See, this was suspense. I believe that Joe Burrow will be there, but we've only seen a few games. After a few games, Jameis Winston looked like a world beater. Mariota looked like a world beater. Baker looked like a world beater. I want proof of concept. Give me Dak. Dak at 5. I know I'm just making people angry, but I am taking Dak at number 5.
All right, Dianna. Other quarterbacks on the board included, as he mentioned, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, who's been awesome so far. Also, Lamar Jackson, the consensus MVP last year. If you had pick 5, who would you have taken?
So I'm going against Fitz's thought process here. He doesn't feel comfortable going with Joe Burrow there because he doesn't feel like he has seen enough, and I understand that argument. But fortunately, a lot of the defenses that Joe Burrow has faced are teams that I've covered. So I've had a lot of great conversations with coordinators and with players about Joe Burrow, and everyone says the same thing, and that's he is going to be so good. The people that I'm talking to about this, I trust, and also we've all seen it. Just our own eyes have seen this potential, and even talking to Cincy, whenever I ask questions about what they're doing, sort of the mindset going into each game, anytime I'm talking to them, they always just say, it's our quarterback. He's the reason why we have a shot every single week. So if I'm going to build a team, I'm going to build a team like that. We know the type of leader he is. We saw it at LSU, and he's already made such an impact in Cincinnati. So I'm going all in on Joe Burrow.
And Dianna, I have no problem with that pick. Let me add, I got the opportunity to do our piece on YouTube about the Heisman season for Joe Burrow. I am a mega fan, and what I saw last year traveling with Game Day from him. Got to see him in person several times, and it was stunning to me. I just get so worried about defenses catching up. Field, we didn't give any love to like a Saquon or, no running back. Alvin Kamara, no running back love at all?
Yeah, that's right. James Robinson, he was a first overall pick this year. He's been great. Oh, wait, he was an undrafted free agent. You can find running backs anywhere. I might be able to give you 50 yards a game.
Wow.
Not literally. I'm just saying, positional value matters in the NFL. I'm passing on running backs. What do you got, Dianna? Last word from you.
Oh, I get to pick the last one?
Oh, I was just saying, I thought you had something to add there on my Saquon comment, as if you were going to be able to take me to task.
I did another one.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I had another one, but no, go finish off. I thought you were coming in with a lot of fire there, talking about the running back.
Okay.
So no, you finish.
Okay, here we go. You know what I'm going to do? I am going to hand off this show, much like Patrick Mahomes and Kyler Murray and Joe Burrow do as quarterbacks, to our Monday Night Football booth.
For a brief second, everyone was talking about here come the same old Patriots just with a different quarterback, right? Bill Belichick is the genius. He's done it again. He's fleeced the rest of the league. Nobody wanted Cam Newton. Bill gives him $1 million. Newton and the Patriots are on their way. And then a sudden thud has him now greased at 2-5.
Yeah, and really it goes back to when he was diagnosed with COVID and missed that practice time. And Cam Newton has not been the same player from the beginning part of the season to the last 3 games, which they've lost in succession. They have to find a way for Cam to get his confidence back. You got to run the football with him, a heavy dose of Damian Harris, and then a little bit of play action mixed in, I think will get Cam Newton back in rhythm.
Yeah, and last week against Buffalo, Brian, he looked a little bit better. They started using some of that play action, got him outside the pocket on some boot passes, some short passes. He seems to have developed some kind of chemistry with Jacoby Myers. Hopefully they can carry that into this Monday night matchup.
This is the Jets portion of the program. This is a tricky spot. 0-8, season's obviously lost. Listen, I know the players and the coaches, they're doing everything possible to win this football game. What is in the best interest, do you think, Lewis, with your background, best for the organization? Do they care about winning what could be considered a meaningless game and thus jeopardizing what could be the #1 overall pick in the draft?
Well, I think it's obvious what's best for the organization is for them to have as many assets as they possibly can to really replenish this roster. But you cannot go into a locker room and tell a head coach, position coaches, and players, we need you to lose football games, or even imply that so we can get better draft positions so we can help this football team down the road. It just won't work. Players are competitors by nature. They're going to go out there to compete. They have nothing to do with the mismanagement that has happened at the top of the organization.
That's a slippery slope. You can't just turn the switch, right? To say, hey, let's go compete and win and give it everything you got, and then say, don't put everything in. It's okay with us losing because we want to get better capital in the draft. You don't come back from that easily.
And there are jobs on the line, right?
Absolutely.
Livelihoods. Adam Gase's job, well, he's fighting for that. It's the Jets and the Patriots tonight. When these two get together, you throw out the records, and they wish you would. Back to the Monday Tailgate crew.
You guys are the best. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the booth in just a few minutes here over on ESPN. So, guys, let's open up to the conversation to you guys in Bristol, Connecticut. We heard them talk about the Jet situation at quarterback, but really I think the bigger story has got to be New England. So, Field, I want to ask you, do you think Cam Newton will be the future quarterback of the Patriots after this season?
I actually think there's a good chance he is back next year, Dianna. And, all right, I mentioned a little bit ago how the NFL season is really, really long. Do you remember the rhetoric after week 3 of the NFL season? It was, the Patriots better do a long-term deal with Cam Newton now because the price point's only going to go up as the season progresses as he gets closer to free agency. Obviously, the price has gone down since that time. But my point is this. Cam can get back on track and look closer to the Cam of the first 3 weeks than what we've seen over the last 3 weeks. And, oh, by the way, if the Patriots don't finish with a top 5 pick, there's no guarantee you're going to get one of the top quarterbacks because we know how the NFL draft works if these guys are good. Beyond that, Patriots are very flush with cap space. A franchise tag is available. And you know what? This probably isn't what Patriots fans want to hear right now. But I'll tell you this, in speaking to people within that organization, the on-field product's got to get better. But Cam has been every single thing you could ask for out of a teammate, out of a leader, out of a worker, out of a guy who comes in and has done his best to get acclimated in a hurry. And I get it. The on-field results will ultimately dictate what his future is. But this is a player that I think has really become a popular member of this organization in just a few months on the job.
But, Field, that's where I think this is going to be the defining moment for the Patriots. Let me be clear. Taking a flyer on a value quarterback is something most franchises have done. It's something most fans have lived through. That's not the moment for me that I'm going to vilify the Patriots or Bill Belichick. What do you do if you take a flyer on someone and it may not be the right situation? Because remember, they had the opportunity in the draft to select a quarterback, but the rhetoric then was that Jarrett Stidham had a shot. Well, we haven't seen anything from Stidham. So that tells you that we were sold a false bill of goods then at that point. Now, you've got Cam in, and he looked good at the beginning, doesn't look good now. The need to make that a good signing can't be more significant than the need to address your quarterback long term. I don't think Cam long term is going to be able to win a lot of games for the Patriots. So I think they have an obligation to make sure that they get themselves a better quarterback next season. Otherwise, they turn into every other franchise where you signed the wrong guy, you held on to him long term, you held on to the wrong decision. I think that would be absolutely a terrible mistake for the franchise.
Interesting.
Yeah. And Fitz, you remember when this coaching staff was discussing what they can do in terms of the creativity with a running quarterback like Cam compared to what they had done for the last 20 years with Tom Brady. They seemed energized by this. This was going to be Josh McDaniels' sort of canvas of where he could paint an offense and a perfect picture of what he would want to do with a quarterback that can move. So the fact that it hasn't really been able to come together now makes you wonder if they're still going to hang on to that idea of that creativity. And maybe that's what keeps them interested in him, knowing that Stidham's still on the roster, if maybe they want to go back to their old way of a pocket passer, and knowing that he's more of a traditional type quarterback. So I feel like there's a bunch more layers that we can get into on New England, but I want to quickly talk about the Jets. And it's always a hard conversation when you're talking about a team that hasn't won. But I think all eyes are on Sam Darnold. Is this going to be a move where the organization says, you know what, we've seen enough?
Yeah.
Or we've seen enough and let's just sort of tank the rest of the year and see who we can, see if we can get Trevor Lawrence? Or we still believe in Sam Darnold. So, Fitz, I want to throw it back to you. Do you think that Sam Darnold could give this team success if he gets the right pieces and the right coach?
I didn't love Sam Darnold coming out of college. I thought he was okay and not great. I'll say that. But to that point, Dianna, I don't think you could put Trevor Lawrence behind this existing team and win football games. So if I'm the Jets, I have so many roster needs. This is not a popular opinion, but I would, if I got the first pick, I would trade it for the bounty of picks that I can get, and I would work on rebuilding the entirety of my team. Because I think if Patrick Mahomes were the quarterback for the Jets, they're still a lousy football team.
Fitz.
They're lousy. How many players playing for the Jets right now would start for a playoff caliber football team?
Hey, you know what? We don't besmirch Patrick Mahomes like this on Monday Tailgate. We just don't do it, all right? So you've learned the rules. That's one of them.
I'm just saying, if you look up and down the board, a friend of mine said years ago, if you want to really judge the talent on your team, ask yourself, how many of these guys would be starting on a playoff caliber football team? If you look across the Jets roster to that standard, how many of them would start for Kansas City? What's the answer?
5 maybe.
Tops?
Maybe 5.
Yeah.
Maybe 5. I get a little salty when people talk about my Patrick Mahomes like that.
Future Hall of Famer.
That's right. Correct.
Well, here's one thing, right? Jets fans, they're used to losing,
They are.
right? So it's been a long time since they've had success. For New England, this is brand new territory. It has got to be painful knowing that they are now like a lot of other football fans out there. So, Fitz, you have been a football fan of teams that have never really won. So I know you got some advice for those Patriot fans out there.
Patriots fans, I'm here for you. I've seen one winning season since 2002. I know your misery, but fear not. This begins your process of hope. The same feeling we've all felt. See, there's no hope in the season, but there's hope in the offseason. It's a destructive relationship, but now you'll get to the offseason, and guess what? When you get there, you've got the draft. Suddenly it matters. You're going to find the guy that makes it all different. You've got free agency. You'll spend all the money to get the right players in, and then your coach will maximize it all. And if they don't, and the anger gets bigger, the heat gets bigger, all that means is you get even more hope, and it rolls over to the next year. Welcome to the misery we all feel.
Nice job. You've been doing this a while, haven't you?
Oh, the misery. The misery loves the company, but hopefully for New England, it's going to turn around and they can go back to the old days. So, the guys, quickly as we wrap up here before the game starts, quick predictions. Phil, let's go with you. You have the Jets or the Patriots tonight?
Believe it or not, Diana, I'm taking the Patriots.
Staggering pick. I'm going to take the Patriots also, Diana.
How about you, Diana?
I think the New York Jets are going to win. Bill Belichick is tanking. He doesn't want anything to do with any more success. I knew he was tanking back in August when he told those guys that were opting out that they could just opt out and take care of themselves. When did Bill Belichick ever really care that much about all of his players? Apparently he does now, this season. So I think New England's up to something. He's just always a little smarter than the rest of us. So I'm going with the New York Jets. I think they're going to show some effort tonight and make those believers, those New York Jet believers, believe that maybe Sam, or actually Joe Flacco, is the answer tonight. Who knows? Maybe Joe is the future. He's elite. Guys, thanks so much for checking out Monday Tailgate. We are here with you every Monday right here on Twitter. Make sure you check it out. Of course, we got the game tonight. The New England Patriots at the New York Jets at MetLife Stadium over on ESPN. Good night, everybody.